Need to improve your club on Ultimate Team? Check out IGGM for safe and reliable coins with the link in the description. Get an extra 5% discount with code NA. What's good, y'all? With this video, I'm going to show you guys a 3-5-2 tactic. These tactics, I went 20-0 the previous week in league with them, so I'm confident that these are pretty solid tactics, even though that this formation is the anti-meta. And I say that because it is a system that is way more unpopular. Many people don't use 3 at the back formations, let alone the 3-5-2. So this formation is definitely going to be different, to say the least. I took inspiration from Inter Milan and their performances lately in terms of domestically and continentally. Especially in the Champions League, they've been really good. So I can basically flex that this formation is basically a realistic formation, to say the least. But yeah, this formation is anti-meta, and I found that it counters the meta really well, especially against players that play the 4-3-2-1 and such. But you do have to get used to this formation a lot, because if you do play those formations a lot to begin with, you will understand that with this formation that you're basically going to have to be playing a lot more differently. You can't be doing the same things that you normally did in a 4-3-2-1 or the 4-2-3-1 and such. So this formation is going to be a lot more different. So it's going to take a minute to get used to. But yeah, we can go straight into the instructions now, or the tactics to begin with. I got to lower my tone a little bit, so apologies if I'm a little quiet. It's 4 a.m. over here, so I don't want to be too loud and wake people up. But going straight into instructions, I have it set to attacking, defensive style balance with 38 width and 70 depth. We do 38 width specifically because this formation having 3 center backs can be an issue when it comes to through balls. So we found 38 width to be perfect for preventing through balls from occurring as much as they should. Not necessarily preventing them from happening with the passes, but whenever they do occur, being able to have a center back that sweeps the way, or having both center backs sweep the way and clear it out. And the reason why I say both instead of all 3 is because when they try to pass through a pocket of space, which is going to be in between 2 center backs, having 38 width is going to keep them narrow enough so both center backs are going to be in contention to intercept the through ball or stop it from occurring. So you're going to need a good center backs, especially center backs that have play styles like anticipate, intercept, or block, because those are going to be the instructions that will really, those are going to be the play styles that really prevent through balls from occurring as much as they should. But yeah, we're also going to have 70 depth primarily because we want a high line as high as possible, because once the ball gets to the edge of your box, this formation is going to be really solid because you're basically going to have 5 defenders. So you're just going to have a huge wall in front of your goalkeeper. And that might have you thinking, why don't I just play a low depth to make up for that and just have emphasis on that strength? Primarily because we want this formation to be strong on all accounts. So we want this formation to be strong at the edge of the box when the ball's at the edge of the box. And we also want this formation to be strong in the build-up. So while this depth is at 70, it's going to allow for a strong pressure when it comes to other teams' build-up, so the other team's going to struggle to build up. Because if you try to play something below 50, or honestly even below 60, all it does is that it invites space for the other team's midfield to build up all the way to the edge of your box. And think of this like American football, basically. Or just think of FIFA to begin with, like American football. You just want to get the ball as far away as possible from your own goalkeeper. Because once the player gets to your box, it doesn't matter what formation you have in defense, eventually, if they get there enough, they're eventually going to cheese something in. Whether it be a scrappy goal or a crazy long shot, finesse, trivela, anything like that, you just want to avoid these situations entirely, so we're going to use 70 depth. And then build a play balance with chance creation forward runs. Finally, I can say that we're trying something else for once. However, this is for a specific purpose. Like I've said in previous other videos, if you watch any other content creators' custom tactics and they cannot give you a specific reason when they're not using direct passing, then I would honestly consider that a red flag to those custom tactics, because direct passing is 99% of the time the meta unless you decide to use something else for a specific reason. And for this video, this specific reason for having forward runs is primarily because it forces the wide midfielders to stay out wide and focus more on creating runs and pressure out wide. We want the wide midfielders to create a lot of tension out wide and basically stretch out the other team's defense. So having forward runs is going to enable the wide midfielders to bomb the wings and just overall overwhelm the other team. So having forward runs in combination with 75 width, as you can see right here, is going to be perfect. If you have players on your team that have things like long ball pass, the play style for it, you'll be able to get consistent through balls over and over and over again, and your other team, or the other team, will just not have counters for it until they completely switch formations. Which, yes, obviously, once the other team decides to switch to a 5 at the back formation, that would be a direct counter to this formation, obviously. But most people don't do that. Most people love the 4-3-2-1 and such, so you won't have to worry about people countering this formation that much. And then 6 players in the box, primarily because you're not actually going to have 6 players in the box. You're basically not going to even have more than 3 or 4 when you really take a look. However, we have 6 because 2 of those players in the box are basically reserved for the wide midfielders that attack and bomb the wings. The reason why we do that is because without having 6 players in the box, they won't be instructed to actually attack the box. And when they're not instructed to actually attack the box, the other team's defense is basically just not going to care about them and just going to leave them wide open. And that sounds good. However, if the defense is not paying no mind to the wide midfielders, they're not going to stretch out their defensive line to accommodate them, and they're just going to focus basically only on the strikers and the cam. And we want the other team's defense to worry about the wide midfielders because once you get to the box, you're not really going to be looking to pass them because they're obviously not going to be in shooting opportunities as much as you want them to. But you also want them to, since they're not getting involved in the actual, final third in terms of finishing, you want them to at least distract the other team's defense and stretch them out in order to enable more space to be made for your strikers and cam. And once the other team's defense begins to stretch out, you'll notice that your strikers and such will be making way more runs, and that's going to be perfect. And then corners and free kicks, it's self-preference, but I prefer 3 corners and 3 free kicks. And before we go and discuss the instructions, we are closing on 15K with this channel, which is, in my opinion, honestly a huge achievement, and I'm really grateful to have gone this far so far. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you're looking for a channel that posts consistent meta formations as well as, unique formations like this one that are pretty fun to play with, go ahead and subscribe. Additionally, if you're looking for a Discord server that pertains to things like FIFA discussion when it comes to tactics, squad building, market, daily content, any of those things, you can join my Discord with the link in the description. And going straight into instructions, you can see the 2 strikers right here. You can switch which roles or which instructions go on which. However, one striker is going to be on bounce with, get behind, basic, and the other one's going to be on stay central, get behind, stay forward. We want this because this player right here, the one with balance, they're going to be focused on making runs still. However, they're going to be more diagonal runs. And when you have these wide midfielders, you're going to want runs of all calibers, so having balance with is going to be essential. While for the other striker, you just need them to be a basic poacher. So stay central, get behind, stay forward is just going to be perfect. And like I said, since you have wide midfielders, you'll notice that you have even more angles to access this player right here. You can access them from the middle through the cam, through your center mid, and also through your wide midfielder right here. So having get behind on both is going to be pretty essential because you're just going to have way more opportunities to reach out for through balls. And then your cam right here is going to be on completely basic, and we do that primarily because the cam position is one of the only positions in the game that's just loaded with attacking AI of its own. So letting it be on completely default is going to let this position express itself to the best of its ability. And you'll notice that since its formation has 75 width, as well as having 2 strikers that are making a ton of movement over and over again, this player is going to have a lot of movement in order to instruct itself to go into the box whenever there is space, or just be right behind them for the situation where he can get the ball to his feet, turn around, and send it through ball. But link up in general is going to be important for this player right here. This player right here can set the tempo for your strikers, so the strikers can, when the player has the ball at his feet, this cam right here, the strikers can either decide to make a run in behind, or they can come short. At least the one on the left can come short, receive the ball to his feet, and then since that player was making diagonal runs most likely to begin with, or was just going to be a little bit more wide to begin with, now that cam can run into the box for the player that was running diagonally. This in combination with the fact that it's a cam to begin with, you'll just notice that you're making so many unique movements. And then your 2 center mids behind the striker that was on balanced width, you're going to want cut passing lanes, bounce, attack, cover center, and then behind the striker that was on get and behind, stay forward. With stay central, you're going to want cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, and cover center. The reason why we do that is more specifically only really for the left side really, primarily because we want the left side to be more of a tiki-taka side where the formation can focus on the players coming short for the ball, receiving the ball, turning around, doing skill moves, anything like that. So having this player being able to access the cam and the striker much more easier is going to give you options when it comes to retaining possession. And with the wide midfielders, come back on defense, stay wide, get in behind on both of them. The comeback on defense is going to be crucial for having them play that role by the touchline, basically like wide fullbacks. But then the stay wide and get in behind is going to be really essential in the attack. Because as we went over earlier, these players, when they don't have the ball at their feet or when the ball's in the middle of the pitch, this is going to enable them to stretch the other team's defensive line to accommodate them. And if you have a CDM right here with the long ball pass plus, and let's say you're struggling to get build up, you can literally always find these guys to be wide open. So having long ball pass plus is going to be perfect for that. And then your 3 center backs are going to be on stay back while attacking, complete default. And then your goalkeeper here is going to be on constant crosser, sweeper, keeper. Having went 20-0 with this formation, I had a lot of fun playing with this, primarily because it was so different. So finally for a weekend league, I was able to do something new and attack a different way. And although, like I said, this formation is anti-meta, that's actually what plays this formation to be so good. I say that because the other teams aren't going to have basically like that muscle memory of defending against these wide midfielders. The formations that people run for the meta aren't going to have this formation in mind in terms of defensively countering it. So this formation is going to be really, really fun to use against people that love to play the meta. But other than that, this formation is definitely not the meta to begin with. So if you've been playing this 4-3-2-1, the 4-2-3-1, the 4-4-2 lately, and you've just not been having fun, or you've just not been playing as well as you think you should be playing, I'd highly recommend that you give this formation a try and you just play with a bit of proactivity. And when I say that, I say just play with an open mind, try to play more free-flowing, try to break any habits that you normally played with the 4-3-2-1 and the 4-2-3-1. Try to look for passes that you normally would not see, and you'll notice that this formation is played so much more differently. And regardless of winning or not winning, I just found this formation just to be way more fun. Even though I went 20-0 with this formation regardless, I just had a lot more fun with this formation. Like I said earlier, I got a lot of inspiration from Inter Milan. I tried building this formation to be as similar as possible, but there's only so much I can do with the limited options within the custom tactics screen. But yeah, I tried my best to get inspiration from Inter Milan. So if you like formations that are built off, teams in real life, then this formation is just going to be just that. I also plan on doing this a lot more, building formations off real life teams. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now, because I'm just going to keep doing this, to be honest. Especially since I'm going to try to create formations that are actually good at the game while replicating a real life team. I'm having a lot of fun doing that personally. So yeah, other than that, if you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment. I'll answer them as soon as possible. Other than that, like, comment, subscribe. That's all.